everyone. Today we are going to discuss about entity relationship model, that is ER model, and also we are going to discuss about the conceptual design of database using ER model and different components involved, and also the examples of conceptual design using ER models. So let us go through what is the ER model. So basically, the ER model is the logical representation of data as objects and relationships among them. These objects are known as entities, and relationship is an association among these entities. Basically, this model was designed by Peter Chen and published in 1976 papers. It was widely used in database design. So, uh, so we here set of attributes describe the entities. For example, the student name, student ID, which are the attributes, describe the student, which is an entity. So there are same types of entity set and as well as the same types of relationships. So for the set of same types of entities is known as entity set, and set of same types of relationships is known as relationship set. So while coming to the conceptual design of database using VR model, they are basically three components. Those are entity, attribute, and relation. So let us discuss these model briefly. So let's look at these three components. So as we discussed before, there are three components. Those are entities, attributes, and relation. So the entities are weak entity and the strong entity. Basically the entity is a class or a person or a place, etc. Graphically, the entity is represented as a rectangular format. So as we can see here, it is represented in the rectangular format. So while considering an example, here student, the product, and the employee are the entities. So basically, the entity is a class or object or a person or a place, etc. Graphically, entity is represented in a rectangular format. So as we can see here, it is represented in a rectangular format. So as we get student, product, employee are the entities represented in a rectangular format. So while coming to the weak entity is an entity that depends upon the other entity. Basically, weak entity does not have any attributes. Basically, the weak entity is represented as double rectangular form as shown. So here the installment is the weak entity and the loan is the entity. So the installment is based on the entity that is called as loan. So while coming to the attributes, basically the attributes are divided into four types. Those are key attributes, composite attributes, multi-valued, and derived attributes. So let us discuss about each and one of the attributes in detail and see an example and go through an example. So while coming to the first one, that is the key attribute. The key attribute is also called as the primary key. Basically, this key attribute is used to represent the unique characteristic of an entity, and it is represented as shown, that is an eclipse with an underline text underline. So this is an key attribute. While coming to the next type of attribute, that is the composite attribute. So composite attribute is one attribute composes the other attribute is called as composite attribute, which means if you have one attribute, it various other attributes will be composed from this attribute. For example, have a look while having a look here. Here the name is an attribute, one of the attribute, and the father name and the mother name and the last name are the attributes which are the composed one, which means The name is the attribute which composes the other attribute. So it is an composite attributes. It is called, so it is an example for composite attribute. So next, while coming to the multi-valued attribute, an attribute consists of one or more values. It is known as multi-valued attribute. For example, it represented as a double eclipse. So for example, phone number or any email. Phone number can be number of phone numbers can be available, and on a number of emails can be available. So phone number has multiple values. So this is can be say as multi-valued attribute. While coming to the derived attribute, a new attribute derived from already existing attribute. Which means, for example, there is an already existing attribute. So we will derive the another attribute from the already existing attribute. Then it is known as derived attribute. It is graphically represented as a dotted lines with a dotted eclipse. So as we can see an example here, date of birth. Date of birth is an attribute, and age is an attribute which is derived from the another attribute, that is date of birth. So here age is an derived attribute. So these are the attributes which are key attributes, composite attributes, multi-valued and derived attributes. Up to now, we have discussed about what is entity relationship model and what is weak entity, and what does it use, and what are the different types of entities. And also we have discussed about attributes which describes the entity. So basically the attributes are different types. Those are key attributes, composite attributes, multi-valued attributes, and derived attributes. So now let us go through the relations. There are different kinds of relations. Those are one to one, one to many, many to one, many to many. So as the name says, we can describe these easily. So while coming to the one to one relation, which means there is an one entity and a relationship and another one entity. These one and one entity are connected through a relation. So while coming to the while we can go through an example, that is for one to one, that is student and a course. Here the course means any like we can take example as a BTech or MTech. So one student can enroll in only one course, that is it is one and it is one. It is an entity, and course is an entity. So these two entity has a relationship, that is enrolled student, one student enrolled in a one course. It is an one-to-one exception. So while coming to the one-to-one relation, so while coming to the next relation, that is one-to-many. So while coming to the one-to-many relation, there is one one entity have a relation with many entities. For example, let's consider an example here, that is teacher and the student. One entity is the teacher and another entity is the students. So as we can see here, the teacher is one entity and the students and another it's many entities. So while coming to this example, the teacher teaches the students, which means the teacher is the one and the students are many. So the relation between these two are teachers. So teacher entity and teacher and the entity student are have a relation, that is teachers. So this is an one to many, that is one entity related to the many entities. So while coming to the next entity, that is many to one. So while coming to the many to one relation, that is many entities are related to one entity. That is, for example, many employees works in a single organization. For example, employee is an entity, organization is an entity. So relation between them is work. So employees, so there can be many number of employees. So employees are many, they works in a single organization. So this would be a best example for many to one relation. So while coming to the next relation, that is many to many. So many relations have. For example, students enrolls in courses. For example, courses like any skill development courses we can consider as Java or database management system or else anything. So here number of students enrolls in number of courses. So student is the one in many entities and courses are the many entities. These two are related by a relation that is symbol. Basically the relation is denoted by the symbol that is diamond. So many students can be enrolled in many courses. It is the best example for many to many relations. So basically there are, as we discussed, there are three components: entity, attributes and relation. And relation contains four. Those are one to one to many to one and many to many. So let's go through an examples of conceptual design using ER model. So as we discussed before, the attributes are denoted by using the ellipse, and the entities are represented in rectangular form, and the relation is in diamond form. So let us consider an entity relationship between a student and a college. So basically, student is an entity and college is another entity. Studying is basically a relation between the two entities. Those are student and college. So student contains the attributes like student name, student ID, student address. These three attributes describes about the entity that is student. So the college, while coming to the college entity, there are the attributes like college ID and college name. These two entities describes about the these two entities describes about the entity that is college. So this is one of the simplest example. So while going to the next example, so this is one example that relates the design of student in the college in the particular course the student can be enrolled in. So basically a student selects the enrolls in a particular college, and the particular college contain different specialized branches, different specialized branches and courses. So as we can see here, there are three entities in there: student, college and the branches. So student is the entity, college is the entity, computer science, mechanical, and electronics are the another entities. So basically, while coming to the relationship between the student and college is enrolls in. So the student enrolls in college. After the enrolling, they have to decide the branch. So that so they have to select the branch. So the college to specify which it is specialized branch. So the specialized in is the another relation. So while coming to the attributes, the student have attributes like age, name, gender and job and date of birth. These are the attributes that describes the entity that is student. And also the college has attributes like the college name and affiliation, so that the student enrolls based on these. So these describes the entity college. So this is an entity relationship model for a student enrolls in a college that has specialized in different kind of branches. Example: computer science, electronics, mechanical, civil, etc. So while going to the next example, that is that is related to the entity relationship between course, professor, and student. And also these three are the entities. Those are professor, student, course are the entities. Professor, student, course are the basic entities. So the professor teaches the course. Maybe there might be no direct contact between the professor and student. Well, just the professor advises the student regarding the courses, but the one who teaches the courses to the student is the TAs. That is, they have a relationship with the course. The student have the course. The student can have the relationship with the course with the help of the TAs. Those are the teachers assistants. So So the course next there are several attributes. Those are professor has some kind of attributes, the department and salary which describes the professor entity, and the student have the different kind of entities. Those are student entity has a different kind of attributes. Those are GPA and department, which describes the student entity, and the course have the attribute that is rating, which is given by the students. So basically, these are the examples of the conceptual design using conceptual database design using the ER models. So basically, we should for designing a database we need mainly three categories of components. Those are entity and relation and attributes. So thank you. This is so as we can see, this is end of the entity relationship model.